In this video, I'm going to discuss the latest application rate for BTO and SBF for July 2025. Let's start with 2-room flexi BTO flats first. So, for Bukit Merah, only Alexandra Vista is being offered because Alexandra Peaks do not have a 2-room flexi. So, they have 248 units and the number of applicants already above 600. So, the application rate for seniors is actually still acceptable, and even for singles is still under 10, which is still conservative, but then we are expecting the numbers to keep changing until the end of the application rate. Now, for second-timer families, the application rate is interestingly still very low. So if you are second-timer families and then you are open to have 2-room flexi flat and you are interested in Bukit Merah area, this could be a good entry point. Because even though it's 2-room flexi, but then it is located in a mature town with good amenities. So this is something that you can consider. Next up, we have Bukit Panjang Bangkit Breeze. So out of the 120 2-room flexi, currently the applicants is already just under 400. What you see here, what is standing out is the application rate for first-timer singles. But then don't panic, because I think this number is high because the limited supply for singles, because HDB has this rule whereby at least 100 units of 2-room flexi needs to be allocated to seniors. I think that is the reason why. But then if you are first-timer singles and then you haven't applied yet, I don't recommend Bukit Panjang, because as of now, the competition rate is already this high, so I don't recommend. Now let's move on to Clementi. For 2-room flexi, the number of applicants is already about 3 times the amount of supply. So for seniors is 2.1. First-timer families, as expected, is on the lower side. Now for first-timer single, the number is getting quite high, so already above 5. So something to consider. For second-timer families, you still have slot if you are interested. Next, we have Sembawang 2-room flexi. As expected, the numbers are still very low. So if you are interested on Sembawang, seems like you still have some spots for 2-room flexi. Next up, we have Tampines Simei Symphony. For 2-room flexi, actually there are only 140 2-room flexi is being offered, but the number of applicants is already above 1100, guys. So it's quite a lot. For seniors, the application rate is already 3.0. First-timer families is still 1.0, but then for singles, good God, it's already 30-something. So if you are first-timer singles and you are considering Tampines Simei Symphony, please take a look at this number, because this number is already very tough lah, very tough. So Tampines Simei Symphony is so popular that even second-timer families and first-timer families who are traditionally applying for bigger flats, they are also flocking to this 2-room flexi. So just a watch out if you are interested for Simei Symphony. The numbers are already like this lah. I expect that the competition rate will be even higher towards the end of the application rate, because Simei Symphony is still categorized as standard with 5 years MOP, but then it is located in mature town and also close to MRT station. So I do expect that this number will get even worse towards the end of the application period. Next up, we have 2-room flexi at Toa Payoh Ascent. So this is also very popular. As we can see, the number of applicants is already beyond 1,000. So for seniors and first-timer singles, the number is already quite high. But then if you are first-timer families and second-timer families and you are open for 2-room flexi, this is still a good possibility. Next up, we have 2-room flexi at Woodlands North Grove. So the numbers of applicants is roughly double the number of units available. So as you can see here, the application rate for seniors is still quite acceptable at 1.4. There's not many first-timer families or second-timer families applying for this project 2-room flexi. For singles, yeah, I mean, the number is still under 5, so it's still somewhat manageable. Okay, next let's discuss about the application rate for 3-room and bigger flats. As you can see here for Bukit Merah, interestingly, in terms of the application rate, it's still relatively under control. Honestly, I wasn't expecting the demand for Alexandra Vista and Alexandra Peaks to be this muted. Not sure whether people are just waiting for the very last minute to apply. Maybe that's the case, but so far the application rate is still very healthy for first-timer families, as we expect. 3-room doesn't get as much demand. So if you are open-minded to apply for 3-room, you still have a lot of opportunity here. Even for 4-room, the numbers are still good. For Bukit Panjang, I think the application rate is pretty much as per expected because this is in non-mature area and you need to take an LRT to get there. Some people don't like to switch between MRT to LRT because it's more congested. But yeah, if you are open-minded to live anywhere, actually this development is not that bad because at least it is near a train station. Next up, we have Clementi Emerald. So for 3-room, interestingly, the demand is still very muted. So still under 1. So if you are open-minded for a 3-room, Clementi Emerald could be an option. But even for 4-room flat, in terms of the application rate, is still not that bad. 1.7 is still quite conservative. So you still have a good chance if you want to apply here. Next up, we have Sembawang Beacon. I think the overall application rate is still within expectation. The only thing that stands out to me is that somehow there's not many people who apply for 5-room or 3-gen. From first-timer families, which is quite interesting because typically people would secure 5-room and 3-gen faster, right? And then Sembawang Beacon is actually one of the most affordable option in this batch. So if you are interested for a 5-room or 3-gen flat, you can consider Sembawang Beacon, especially for first-timer families. Okay, next up we have Tampines Simei Symphony. So the application rate for 4-room and 5-room flat for both first-timer families and second-timer families are quite high. But then I think we need to be careful as well when we look at this number because we need to put it into context. One of the reasons why the application rate is so high is because the supply is limited. So for example, you see here, for 4-room flat, they only have 140 units at Simei Symphony. Compare it with Toa Payoh SN, which have 468 4-room flats. So if we see the amount of supply, then that actually helps to give a better perspective. So Toa Payoh SN is actually where the real demand is because they already have quite a lot of supply, 468, but then the amount of applicants is already beyond 2,000. So that is even beyond Bukit Merah. So as we can see here, the application rate is indeed 3.5, which looks lower than Simei Symphony, but then again, we need to always put into perspective the amount of supply. Now, in terms of second-timer families, I think this is a watch out because for Simei Symphony, it's already 16-something, 29-something. If you haven't applied for second-timer families, you might want to consider other options because the application rate right now is already so crazy. On the other hand, if you are first-timer families and you are open-minded to buy a 3-room, Toa Payoh SN might actually be one of your options because as you can see, the application rate so far is still 1.2. Next up, we have Woodlands North Grove. So as per expected, the demand here is still quite conservative. Not many people apply for it, probably because the same location, just been offered last February. So that probably explains why the numbers is like this. Interestingly, for 5-room flats, there's not that many people who apply here. So if you are first-timer families who are still considering whether you want to get 4-room or 5-room flat, just FYI that actually the application rate is still lower for 5-room flat. Okay, now let's move on to review the application rate for SBF. So the first one is community care apartments. There's only a handful of units available. So I think that explains why the application rate is have the median of 3.4, but I think we need to see the numbers in context. Next, let's discuss the application rate for SBF 2-room flexi. As you can see from the number of units for each town, actually the amount of supply is not that much. Mostly under 50, with some exceptions, of course. I'm not going to go through one by one, but I think what is striking to me that there's actually quite a lot of number of applicants in Jurong East and West, because I'm not surprised if like Bishan or Geylang or Hougang got more than 200 applicants, but Jurong East and West is interesting. So Kallang Whampoa area is expected quite a lot of applicants, but again here Punggol is also a surprise again for me. I wasn't expecting so many people to apply in Punggol SBF, especially with the very limited supply, so that's interesting. Okay, still for Turun Flexi, we have the next set of towns. So if we see the table here, I think the only town that has quite a lot of Turun Flexi supply for SBF is Tengah. Yeah, so probably if you are interested, this would be one of the possibility, because the more supply they have, hopefully the higher the chance that you have. If we zoom in only to seniors, currently the highest application rate for Turun Flexi for seniors, number 1 is Tampines, and then number 2 is Sengkang. And then for singles, the highest application rate is actually for Woodlands, and then the runner-up is for Punggol. So that is something to take note of if you haven't applied just yet. Next, let's discuss the application rate for 3-room and bigger SBF flats. So for Ang Mo Kio, if you are first-timer families and interested for 3-room, you still have a good chance, because as of now, the application rate is still under 1. Even for 4-room and 5-room, the application rate is still quite manageable. I think the only watch out is because Ang Mo Kio is such a mature town, there are plenty of older repurchase flats, and I think that's the case just looking at the number of units. So if you strictly want like a newer development, then probably pick another town. Okay, next up we have Bedok SBF. So Bedok is interesting because if you notice, they have quite a lot of balanced flats available. Like even for room, they have over 200 balanced flats. So most likely, these came from unsold units from past projects who are still under construction, and not only just from older repurchased flats. But in order to be sure, you need to check in the HDB website. But if it's true that it's from newer SBF units, then this is actually a gem, because the application rate for first-timer families is still under 1. Okay, next, for Bishan and Bukit Batok, I think nothing to highlight from my end, because the numbers are still as per expectation. Okay, next we have Choa Chu Kang. The number of balanced flats are quite a lot, which indicates it might be from unsold recent projects. So if you are keen, you still have a good chance here, especially for first-timer families. Okay, moving on. I have nothing to highlight for Clementi, but there is something very interesting for Geylang. So I checked earlier, and apparently in Geylang, there is this search project that still has a lot of balanced units, brand new, and the keys are already ready. So I'm planning to review this on a separate video, but looking at the low application rate, probably not many people know about this yet, but this is your opportunity to secure a good unit if you are interested to live in Geylang. Okay, next, I don't have anything in particular to call out about Hougang. For Jurong East and West, there are quite a lot of balanced units from projects that are still under construction, but most of them are far from any MRT station, but the supply is here if you are interested. The application rate is still under 1. Now, Kallang and Whampoa is where things gets really interesting. So if you see the number of supply here, it's actually amazing, You see 3-room still have 97 units. For 4-room, even you still have more than 600 units. This is amazing, guys. And I check, and seems like most of these are brand new units coming from projects that haven't sold out, still under constructions. And remember that Kallang Whampoa is a mature area. Although based on my checking, it seems like these projects are far from MRT station. I check in Google, and seems like these are coming from projects who were classified as standard, meaning they are only subjected to 5-year MOP, even though it's in a mature area. So again, Kallang Whampoa, another SBF town that is worth considering. For Pasir Ris and Punggol, I have nothing to highlight. Now for Queenstown, now this is interesting because I checked earlier, and then it seems like some of the supply is from a Queensway Canopy project, which is categorized as standard. But then the project opposite it is already categorized as plus, if I'm not mistaken. So if you are interested to live in Queenstown and getting a 4-room flat that only has 5-year MOP, you still have a good chance, man, especially if you are first-timer families. The next one that is probably worth calling out would be Tengah, because in terms of supply, they have plenty of supply, right? And then the application rate for first-timer families is still also very low. So if you are open-minded to live in Tengah, you still have a good chance. So if you are first-timer families and interested to live in Tengah, I think you still have a good chance to get a flat here. Okay, next up for Toa Payoh, I think these are mostly like repurchased older flats. I'm not sure. Please double check. If you are keen on Toa Payoh, please double check because I don't remember every single SBF unit. Next one is for Woodlands. I checked this before, and some of these actually came from newer projects that are still under construction. But then I think the majority of them were far from MRT station. There was only one project that was close to MRT station. But again, remember that for SBF, you can only apply for the flat type and the town, and then that's it. So you can't really control which project that will still be available when it's time for you to pick a unit, assuming that you manage to get a queue number. So yeah, but Woodlands also still have more than 120 units available for 4-room flat, 5-room flat also available. For Yishun, I think what is worth calling out here would be the 5-room or the executive apartment. For first-timer families, the application rate is still under 1. So if you are keen to get this, you can try. For second-timer family, sorry, the application rate is already beyond 100. You might as well just apply for something else. So as usual, general reminder that the application rate that you are seeing in this video will be different versus what you check online because the website is actually updated 3 times per day. But come back here if you want to see the application rate for tomorrow. To get exclusive contents and support my work, click the join button to be part of the online family. Your support means a lot to keep us independent. Don't forget to join the membership and I'll see you on my next video. Bye bye!